Hey guys, welcome back to another video and the new studio. I know it's a work in progress, but we're getting there. Anyways, the Ioniq 6 was just revealed at the LA Auto Show yesterday, and I have the full list of features for the vehicle. So I want to kind of compare it to the Ioniq 5, see what features might be available across the Ioniq 6, along with the Ioniq 5, and some of the features that actually might be missing that the Ioniq 5 currently has. So let's go ahead and take a look at the list and see how it compares to the Ioniq 5. So because both these vehicles use the same eGMP platform, they'll be very similar underneath the skin in terms of the Ioniq 6 and the Ioniq 5. Both will have rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive with a single motor or dual motor setup. Both will have a 77.4 kilowatt-hour battery pack. The biggest difference of the Ioniq 6 is going to be the aerodynamics and how efficient the vehicle is kind of cutting through the air with a 0.22 coefficient of drag. So this is one thing that Hyundai was very proud of and announced in the presentation yesterday. And this also translates to a longer range of the vehicle, which we'll get to here in a second. But the only difference in terms of the platform itself is going to be the slightly longer wheelbase of the Ioniq 6. I believe it's 2 inches longer than that of the Ioniq 5, which already did have a wheelbase much longer than that of the Palisade. So quite long vehicle in terms of its wheelbase, but underneath the skin they're going to be very similar. Now like I mentioned, the range is going to be much better with the 6, and that is largely due to the aerodynamics. So the Ioniq 5 all-wheel drive has a range of 266 miles, and the Ioniq 6 all-wheel drive is going to have an estimated range of 310. So this represents a roughly 16% increase in that over the current Ioniq 5, which is quite good, especially for an electric vehicle. So an extra 16% of range out of the same size battery pack definitely shows how much more efficient the Ioniq 6 is with the same amount of battery. So diving into the feature list, I'll have both of them up on the screen so you guys can follow along, or I'll have it linked down in the description below if you want to pull it up on your own screen and kind of read through it yourself. So I've broken the list down into 4 main categories, and that is the Ioniq 6 advantages, the Ioniq 5 advantages, features not available on the Ioniq 6, and features not available on the Ioniq 5. So when I say advantages, I mean these are features that are available lower in the trim structure than that of the other vehicle. So for example, the heated steering wheel is available on the Ioniq 5 SEL and up. In terms of the Ioniq 6, it's only available on the Limited. So starting with the Ioniq 6 advantages, these are standard LED projector headlights, standard hands-free power smart trunk, standard second row AC vents, as well as standard heat pump. So next, moving on to the Ioniq 5 advantages, these are power folding mirrors on the SEL and higher trims, heated steering wheel also available on the SEL and higher, and lastly, the standard smart cruise control with machine learning is available on the Ioniq 6, but you have to go up to the SEL trim or higher. So now as far as features on the Ioniq 6 that are not at all available on the Ioniq 5, these include the sunroof, which I believe might open or it might just be a fixed panel glass. If it's a fixed sunroof, that is also available on the Ioniq 5, but if it opens, that is something you cannot get on the Ioniq 5. USB-C ports instead of only USB-A ports. Steering wheel pixel lights, which kind of tell the charge level and interact with the driver for certain driving functions and stuff like that. Remote Smart Parking Assist 2, I believe this builds upon the version 1. Instead of going only in a straight line, I believe it will steer the vehicle around objects as well. Over-the-air firmware updates is a big one. This means they can update the vehicle firmware, change vehicle driving dynamics, update the navigation software, a bunch of different stuff. So this is definitely great to see for Hyundai vehicles in general. Speed sensitive lighting kind of gets brighter the faster you drive. It's kind of a gimmicky feature, but one worth noting. And lastly, Hyundai Digital Key 2, so you can use not only Android compatible devices, but also iPhones and some Samsungs as well. And finally, to wrap up with Ioniq 5 features not available on the Ioniq 6. These include trailering package. Now the Ioniq 5 can tow up to 2,300 pounds. Not that many people are actually towing with the 5, but that is possible with the Ioniq 5, so that is something to keep in mind if you're looking at the 6. The driver's seat with relaxation function. Premium heads-up display with AR functions, sliding center console, rear side window shades, as well as a 12-volt outlet in the cargo space. Again, not available on the Ioniq 6. And some of the other differences that I was unable to verify was some of the driver assistance technology. Now Hyundai did provide that the Ioniq 6 will get many of the same features as the 5, just a little bit more advanced. But in terms of what trims get actually like Highway Driving Assist 2, as well as like front and rear parking sensors, that was not included on the list that Hyundai provided as of this date. So I'm assuming it's going to be very similar to the 5, where you at least have to get like an SEL or higher to get Highway Driving Assist 2. But again, that is not verified at the time that I'm making this video. And another small difference worth noting is that the Ioniq 6 has options for 18 and 20-inch wheels. where the Ioniq 5 currently has 19 and 20-inch wheel options. So I guess if you want 20s, they're both available on each vehicle, but if you want standard 19s, that is not available on the Ioniq 6. And as far as my opinions on the feature set on the Ioniq 6 in terms of the different trim levels, I think they package them quite well. This matches up relatively equally to that of the Ioniq 5. However, I would like to see the heated steering wheel available on a lower trim of the Ioniq 6. I think that's a feature that a lot of people do use on a daily basis, especially if you live in a colder climate. So that is a little bit bummer to see that you have to get the top limited trim on the 6 just to get a heated steering wheel. But outside of this, I think they are relatively equal, and I think they did a good job in packaging. And some of the benefits actually of the Ioniq 6 are the standard LED projector headlights. I think that's a nice upgrade. Standard hands-free power smart trunk. Again, that's something that people might use on a daily basis. So good to see that is standard across the board. Over-the-air firmware updates. Again, nice to see. Hyundai Digital Key 2, stuff like that is all nice. One of the downfalls of the Ioniq 6 again is the lack of the driver's seat with the relaxation function. Again, you're going to be charging quite frequently, depending if you're going on a road trip or just charging, I guess, out in public. That would be a nice function to have, but if you do most of your charging at home, then the seat function, it really isn't going to change or be that big of a deal. So I would like to see it personally on the Ioniq 6, at least in the limited trim. And finally, to cover a piece of information that I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering out there, and that is pricing. Well, unfortunately, as of making this video, I do not have pricing. Might be a little bit more expensive on the 6, both on the base MSRP as well as the top limited trim. Now, when you look at the Ioniq 5 pricing, the SE all-wheel drive starts just over $50,000 and goes all the way up to $57,795 for the limited all-wheel drive. Now, I would expect the Ioniq 6 to somewhat match the base MSRP of the 5. However, I think when the top limited trim comes into play, it'll be closer to that $60,000 mark. Now, in terms of availability, it should be available by Q2 or spring of 2023 from what I've seen. Hopefully we'll get pricing by early next year, maybe January or February, so people can start planning their purchases, getting with their local dealerships, because I'm sure these are going to be very limited, just like the Ioniq 5 has been over the last few years. So hopefully we'll have pricing early next year, a while before launch, so people can kind of get with their dealerships, get on the wait list, because I'm sure there's going to be quite a long wait list for this upcoming popular vehicle. But yeah, that is all the information I have at the time of filming this video. So that's going to conclude this video on the Ioniq 6 in terms of the feature set for the US spec cars. Let me know what you think of the Ioniq 6 down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I just recently did my first drive in Ioniq 5 earlier this week, so make sure to check out that video here on the channel if you guys have not seen it already. And we're just going to floor it. Oh. I really enjoyed driving the car. It's very quick, especially in its all-wheel drive form. And again, I think with the Ioniq 6 in the Ioniq lineup, it's going to do very well for Hyundai, and they're going to keep getting high praises for their EVs. So as long as they keep up the good work on this platform, I think they're going to have a lot of fans here in the next few years. So once again, let me know what you guys think of the Ioniq 6 down in the comments, and as always, hope to see you guys in the next one.